So, hello and welcome to this, the latest Books Crypto Club catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday, the 26th of September 2021. We're going to be talking about all things cryptocurrency, blockchain, DeFi, NFTs, anything else that's in the news, really. So if you enjoy this, don't forget to click on the subscribe. At least smash that like button, show you that like video if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards. And we never really know what this is going to be involving, what we're going to talk about. So stick along for the ride. Hope you enjoy it.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Despite the petrol and supply chain issues.
Is that why you've left this planet and you've gone elsewhere?
Exactly. Well, after all the moon talk last week.
Yep, good call. Hey, Justin, nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you too. How are you?
I'm living the dream. or as I say, it's either a dream or a nightmare. I can never remember which it is. So good of you to come and join us today and see what this is all about.
Yeah.
So we never really know what we'll end up talking about, to be honest. It really depends upon who's online. Sam's always really good for his latest news and views and opinions on where things are going. And we sometimes get sometimes novices who are just here to completely learn, or experts who are like day traders and that. So we'll see where we go. Where does your interest lie then, Justin?
Probably somewhere in between. I started buying crypto in 2017. I've got most of the mainstream ones, plus some less mainstream ones. It's been quite exciting this year, seeing everything go up.
Yeah.
After seeing it all crash in 2018, I kept buying in 2018 when it was low, but I wish I'd bought more.
Okay. Well, it was certainly interesting because it was at the end of 2017 when you had that sudden crash when it dropped from 20,000. Bitcoin went from $20,000 down to, I don't know, it was 8,000 or less or something.
Yeah.
It was an interesting ride, certainly. So, Sam, what have you been looking at this week?
Well, I saw you had the Cardano Summit this weekend.
Yeah.
I was a bit deflated. I thought there was going to be I heard some rumors that there's some big news about adoption in the Philippines. I haven't quite get abreast of it, but I've been looking on some forums and I saw that the big news was that Cardano and Chainlink have done a bit of a deal, but a lot of Chainlink's gone up, but had a nice little boost from it. But Cardano had a boost yesterday and has gone down today. It's a little bit of a confused market, which kind of shows everyone's feelings. Some people bullish, some people bearish.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I've just pulled up the ADA, so Cardano market price on Binance, and you can hardly see where the change was. It looks like something kind of happened at the last week, and it's almost as though there's nothing since. If I take a look at the 1 hour chart, it'd be interesting to see, is there anything really noticeable? I mean, that just looks like a crypto on its normal journey. If you looked at that in hindsight, you wouldn't be able to say when was there any big announcement made or anything, would you?
No, I think if you look at Chainlink, it might look slightly different. It did say it was up 10% in one day.
Okay.
So I don't know if the news benefited Chainlink more than Cardano, but
yeah,
for all the hype,
Yeah. And I think that's because I think you're right. People were expecting some big announcements at the conference, and they went live. Was it 2 weeks ago now? With I've forgotten what they call their release, but the one that includes smart contracts.
The ones that are hard fork.
Yeah. So was it Hydra? I think thinking back.
Yeah.
But now that kind of puts it more similar to like Ethereum now. So it's moving away from just being a cryptocurrency to being a programmable type thing. And you would have expected something bigger to have come up as a result of that. So it's kind of a surprise. I think Charles Hoskinson's major announcement was they were they sponsoring a university, something, I think it's Carnegie Mellon. They're doing something where they've set up some sort of establishment there. So I mean,
there was also telecoms as well, but it wasn't World Mobile. So I was like, what is going on? There's me with my World Mobile token. I buy my World Mobile token, thinking it was going to explode. It did.
Yeah.
The World Mobile token did double in price, by the way.
Okay.
Not-
Is it being traded on an exchange now?
you can. Well, it seems to be tradable because I've been looking on crypto. What is it? Cryptomarket.com
Or crypto market cap?
Yeah, crypto market cap, and it certainly seems to be up and down trajectories, and it's doubled. It's doubled in price,
Okay.
but not compared to my original investment. So we'll see if it keeps on doubling.
Okay. I see we've got Hussein's joined us today. Hey, Hussein, how's it going?
Watcher, it's been a while. Good to be back in the Bucks Crypto Club. How's it going?
It's good. Is it that it's not sunny and you can't sit outside anymore?
That and I've been traveling a bit, so I've just finally got back from Central Asia and kind of getting back into the routine again.
Okay. I guess you're really active in your relatively new role as well.
Yeah, it's mayhem. So we have Noah. We're building
I can get
Crypto
Tesco
Arc,
Express
and
after this and get some.
Okay.
and it's so you're in the middle of hiring and all sorts of things. I can hear. I think something in the background.
Sorry, it's Justin. I'm just trying to mute him at the moment.
Well, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's manic. So we're in the process of delivering what we're saying is a financial arc. It's essentially a Bitcoin and stablecoin savings lending facility, as well as remittance in the new year. So pretty damn busy with that.
Okay, excellent. Well, it's good to hear. Lots of things going on at the moment. And we were saying just before you came on about there was the Cardano conference in London over the last couple of days, where it was expected there were going to be some big announcements coming from that. And there was also the upgrade of Cardano as well a couple of weeks ago with the Hydra fork, which introduced smart contracts. So yeah, you're right, loads of things going on. Really interesting space. I guess the other thing is that I always used to consider you to be Mr. Ripple. So have you been following the latest rumblings with the SEC at all?
Oh, absolutely. Right. And I've increased my position. So I think it's pretty much game over for the SEC with everything that's being introduced lately into the case. Bear with me one moment. I might just walk around a little bit and we'll carry on talking. Long and short of it, as far as I can see, we are in a very interesting situation with the SEC. Gary Gensler and the crew have made a lot of problems for themselves recently, and we've now got real media, Fox News, and some journalists chasing them as well. So I'm going to be really bullish and say I expect actually the SEC to just lose this case and not even settle it.
Really? Because it's interesting. I've been watching the price lately on a few remaining exchanges where it actually is tradable, and it's been fully settled. I think it was around it's 95 cents, that kind of thing. I was expecting it to be more up to the 120 mark or something at the moment. So maybe it's actually a really good example of buy on the rumor, sell on the news. Maybe, as you say, it could be a really interesting point to move into.
Obviously, a lot of risk still, and if you're not, if you're averse to risk, XRP may not be the particular asset for you. But I'm just convinced. I mean, I've stayed very close to this case, and the level of corruption in the SEC that's being uncovered is pretty horrific. So I don't know. I'm very confident that. Yeah, as I said, I don't think there'll be a settlement. I think they'll just flatly lose it. Now, Brad Garlinghouse on Fox News did kind of open the door to a settlement, but there was a strong precondition there as well. So, yeah, let's see. I think the Ripple team of lawyers must be feeling quite bullish at this stage.
Okay, so I'll always say we don't offer predictions or recommendations, but I will recommend watching the case with interest. Because certainly the stuff I've seen, I don't think it's going the way the SEC expected. And it
What's
could
your
be
time frame, though? You're saying, do you think it'll be dealt with some people were saying it should be dealt like, Big Boy was saying, oh, it'll be dealt with in the middle of September. Oh, it'll be dealt with by the end of September. So like, we know how court cases, their litigation and blah blah blah, and lawyers liking their fees and charging as much fees as they can, and prevarications. So, what do you think? October, November?
I would really hope it's by the end of this year, and there's a reason for that. So I subscribe to the 4-year cycle theory, and I think the narrative fits the price, not the other way around. So if you show me the price, I'll tell you the news, not the other way around. So there's a couple of things that could happen here. I do expect the whole crypto market to have another bounce to the upside and break all-time highs before the end of this year. And I think the kind of news stories that you would hear that would fit that narrative, one of them would be, Ripple winning the case. That would lead to Ripple XRP being relisted in the US. It would also probably coincide with a Flare airdrop and what's happening there, which is, again, all of this stuff is kind of pent up because of the court case. I think they're all related. And then that sequence of dominoes is what could end up leading. You're on the end of the 4-year cycle as well. Bitcoin's going to go up in price. And I think the confluence of those events is what's going to drive significant gains in XRP and other cryptocurrencies. On the downside, as I posted on UK Crypto a bit earlier, I'm a little bit worried about October. I don't think the dip that we've just had is quite low enough. It was quite low, but I'm still a little bit concerned that October's got a nasty surprise for us. So I'm starting to cover some of my leveraged positions. But to your question, I would hope by the end of the year, but I'm not holding my breath.
So I'll keep an eye on that. And in terms of the 4-year cycle on that, is there any connection with any Bitcoin futures closing in October as well, do you think?
The quarterly options ends on, I think it's the 30th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last week we had the monthly option end. All of this stuff, again, definitely the options window closing has an effect for sure. It's had that effect in the equities market. We've all known about it for a long time. I just don't think it's enough on its own to given everything else that's going on to really warrant too much concern over that.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on it. And Rachel, hi there. So you've come in your hidey hole today. Most people try and turn lights on for their background and have stuff. You look like you're in a dark, intense and soldiery plane.
It's a case of not getting out of bed to actually switch the light on.
That's honest, at least. Usually people leave the camera off and say, oh, I'm in my pajamas or something, but that's really good. How are you keeping anyway?
All right, I wanted to ask about Solana and what people think about it as an asset.
Go for it. Anyone got any thoughts? Or maybe we've got Fernando just joining us at the moment. Maybe we'll give him a moment because I'm sure he'll have an opinion on Solana and Avalanche and various other ones. Meanwhile, any thoughts? Anyone else?
It's the impossible crypto. It kept on going up and up and up, and I was thinking I'm not going to get in because surely this rush is done and it's completed, and it just kept on the final logic, and I was absolutely gutted. Like, I could have got into it, a good 4 or 5 weeks ago, or even a long time before that. But I generally don't chase pumps. It's antithetical to the classic way of trading. But it just defied every single rule, and it's clearly manipulation. But it's the manipulation I like, So I was very, very surprised at how far it kept on going up, and it's recently had a little dip, and I've actually bought a little bit into its dip because I think it'll rebound up nicely. But Hussein's got me worried now, so we get a little bit more bearish. I think I'll put a little bit of my portfolio into stablecoins to see what's happening.
So with Solana at the moment, so I'm just trying to dig it out to see what sort of prices are on it. Is it going up or is it stable? Or?
It dropped down a bit when the China thing happened, I think, because everything dropped.
That's weird, because as I was explaining to someone earlier on today, the China announcement was simply, yet another confirmation of what's been in place for the last probably 5 years. In fact, the Chinese state bank seems to almost do this annual announcement now, which is still illegal. And all the mainstream press pick up on it and go, oh, China's declared that crypto's illegal. It's like, no, they declared it's still illegal. It hasn't changed type thing. So
I think
That's what you mean.
doesn't affect the, I don't think it affects it as much. I think it just drops like a stone when anyone says anything bad.
Yep.
And then, but it hasn't really affected it because it goes back up to the same place. So I don't think it's an underlying problem. I think it's just nervousness.
yeah. So
It's people shorting. When China says something, all traders know, well, guess what? It's time to do a bit of shorting. And so they short the market a bit, and then they reinvest and put it into the dip, and it just bounces back up. So it's just a really cynical way to make money.
the other interesting one with China is I saw someone had produced an extract a few days ago and thought, oh, that's interesting, immediately recirculated it, and then completely forgot to keep a copy of where I'd got it from. So I don't know where it is, but it was a list of all the major Bitcoin holdings around the world. And the Chinese government appears to be one of the major holders of crypto. And funnily enough, the US government as well, possibly through the FBI, through the seizures that they've done. But it was one of those things that you started looking at how much governments own of crypto, particularly the Chinese government and the US government, and you go, oh, the libertarians aren't going to be too happy about that. So I wonder in some ways, maybe the Chinese government just occasionally just try to depress the market and sneak off and buy some more, and they're building up their position. They're the ultimate kind of like market manipulator.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
But just going back to Solana, I just pull a chart up there, which hopefully you can see on the screen at the moment. And again, it's another of these ones where you can't really detect any particular pattern. There's a gentle downward push at the moment, with some like weaving around in between. But there's nothing that sticks out where there's any like major announcements or anything. So
Just try to find an article about it. I'll just try and find it again.
yeah.
I mean, the announcement that I was aware of is that it went down as a network for about 8 hours, maybe longer. I mean, that's what I remember with Solana. I like the project. Look, the use case sounds interesting. Extremely high transaction volumes and a good ecosystem being built around it. What you'd expect from any one of these kind of, I guess, Ethereum killers is one way of describing them. But the fact that it went down was a bit shocking for quite a long time, and certainly gave all the Bitcoin maximalists a lot of ammunition.
Talking of which, Fernando, hello to you. Hi there.
Hi guys. Yeah, I've been quiet listening, having dinner.
Okay, but just with the words Bitcoin maximalist being mentioned, I always
I'm not for a while now.
Okay, you missed out on the Ripple conversation already, so maybe we should talk about.
I'm not bothered about it. You know my opinion about it. So.
Yeah,
but I was listening to Solana. I've been warning for about 5 to 6 months. People that even during the Solana pump, that they have some very, very core architectural problems. You know.
Okay, I guess
so. This week there was another one related to Python. I think it was. You know, so. And they, of course, now they have a lot of money, so they can fix it. But there are really structural problems on the actual blockchain itself, you know. But with all the money, they will fix it over time, of course. You know?
Well, it was interesting. I was just skipping through. Rachel just shared this link on Solana, which doesn't actually seem to have a massive amount of information in it.
There's not much substance in it, is there? It's just a bit hypey. So that's why I was kind of thinking, is there anything in this or not?
Yeah. It's one of those things that when they say, oh, we're very fast, and then there's not much else, it's kind of like, well, let's see what you mean by very fast. And there are some truly fast platforms that are just behind the not quite going live yet type things. One of the ones I used to watch out for in particular will come back to me shortly. but there was one particular one that it was like a DAG-based type of blockchain.
LeftZero.
No, it wasn't. It's a UK-based firm who it's dreadful now because I know the CEO and I know the founder of it, but they were coming up with fantastically fast performance, but they've not quite gone mainstream with it yet. So I think there's going to be a bunch of them probably in 2022 now that are going to be transformative in their capabilities, you know, of high speed and that kind of thing. And we might finally see the end of the, oh, blockchain only does 7 transactions a second, that's no use to anybody type thing. So
Yeah, look, LeftZero is launching soon. Yeah.
okay, I remember now. I just had my senior moment. It's Radix.
I heard about them. Yeah.
Yeah, Radix definitely worth looking at. You got Dan,
Yeah,
who's the
DAGs are good, you know, but there are a few things. Depends how it's done. I like LeftZero because I think it's very well thought through, and the people in the team are just phenomenal. You know, they have some of the best cryptographers in the world, and some are really the top experts. You know, so I think they will go very, very far. They will. I think they delayed now the launch from this week, next week, to the 4th or 5th of October or something like that. And
okay, and what's
in my
the name?
opinion,
What's the name again, Fernando?
LeftZero, ALEPH. Yeah, LeftZero. And I think from the hype I've seen across all of the VCs that I know in crypto, if this goes as I'm thinking it's going, this could potentially be thrown Ethereum in the next couple of years, you know, because it's very, very good. You know?
See, I always get.
And it's the execution. It's the execution in the end, isn't it? So we need to see how it is the execution.
Okay, so is that the same as I've just pulled up a website of Aleph.im?
No, ALEPH ZERO. Yeah, LeftZero.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, a new generation of blockchain. That's always a good sign, isn't
It's
it?
a DAG, yeah. So
yeah. Okay.
good, you know? And I didn't get at the private sale, but I'm on the community because I registered back in June. I came quite late for the private sale for this one, but I think the only ones that can be able to compete in speed that I know that are quite ahead is with you know my view about Polka, yeah. I think with the parachains, they're gonna achieve 1 million transactions per second, you know, with 100 parachains. So it's gonna be very easy for Gavin to implement all these.
1 million transactions.
Sorry.
That's incredible.
Yeah, 1 million transactions per second with 100 parachains. Yeah. So they Polkadot is in the game. You know?
That's the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, Gavin was the Gavin was the brains behind Ethereum. Yeah, it was not Vitalik or any of the others. You know, he was Gavin, and Gavin, since he created Substrate with a couple of other guys, and then Polkadot is based on Substrate. The parachains concept, for me, is the one that is going to kill most of the other blockchains up there. You know, only Cosmos with the blockchains of blockchains or Internet of blockchains can potentially compete. But LeftZero, it's a different thing because it's a DAG. It's not actually the concept is not like blockchains. You know, blocks in a chain. It's a bit different. You know.
Well, it's almost like a matrix of the universe, isn't it? Where you've got massive number of intersection points. Certainly a very different approach. So it's kind of fascinating. So there's another one for everyone who's either watching today or watching the recording. Check out LeftZero, but do put your sunglasses on before you launch their website. I think they've just had. It looks very Hollywoodish. I was looking at it, my eyes were kind
Can you
of like.
show me the screen?
Hang on, I'll try and pull it back up again.
I want to see if it's the same one. It's the one in black and green, yeah?
Well, there's a lot of black and white. Can you see it there? Is that coming through okay? It almost looks like a trailer for the next series of Mr. Robot or something. Definitely looks a bit on the edge. Is that the one?
Yeah, LeftZero.org.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It's saying that you can't buy it if you're in the USA. They're not allowing them to buy that. That's interesting.
Yeah, they
Legal
don't
to
allow.
buy in the USA.
Okay.
Legal.
USA, China, Iran, and something else. Usual countries that people block when they do private sale.
Is it?
Yeah, that's just them being sensibly cautious because they just want to reduce the risk of being prosecuted by the SEC, I guess. Because I think a lot of people, it comes back to the conversation with Hussein earlier on about Ripple. I think that there will be a rippling effect of that court action. That, you know, if it's judged that XRP is not a security, then that could have a compounding effect on a whole load of other crypto projects that have kind of parked themselves a little bit, thinking, don't really want to wear an orange jumpsuit and end up in Guantanamo. So if it goes against the SEC, that could almost open the floodgates, and I think there'd be a few things coming up. So the whole thing about not available to US people, I think, is a cautious and probably sensible approach of just risking. And also, you find quite often projects say, you know, not open to US citizens, UK citizens, whatever. They've got IP blockers on, they've got all sorts. And then everyone still uses a VPN and goes through something and spoofs it anyway. So they'll work around it.
You've got to wonder why America is so anti-innovation, you know? Like, you know, it's
Very
not
simple.
supposed to be like, yes.
US dollar.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got the thing with the crypto space as well. It's fascinating when you look at the regulatory domain for crypto, because first of all, you can't quite work out which regulator is responsible for it, because you've got the SEC, you've got potentially CFTC, which is the future side of things. You've got, I guess, the Federal Reserve takes an interest from a more systemic perspective. Then you've got statewide regulators who all take their vested interest. And then you've got a whole bundle of other. I went to a presentation a while ago with a US lawyer who described how it was. I think there were 13 federal regulators who have staked an interest or a claim in being responsible for crypto regulation in some way. And then you've got round about 50 state regulators. And none of them agree with each other, and they're all battling, and some of them are trying to be crypto friendly. So there are some states that are trying to encourage and innovate. So I think Arizona, Miami, a few others are kind of known for being pro crypto. And then you've got others like New York who came up with a bit license, which on the face of it looked like a great way of just controlling things and being sensible, but in reality was the best way of killing off any crypto innovation in that state for quite a while. Hussein, would you agree with that? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, there was quite a public spat, wasn't there, between the CFTC and the SEC over Twitter and a few other channels, where they're openly kind of questioning who has control over that particular sector and what is a commodity and what is a security. Yeah, and I think the US is completely fragmented in terms of its legislative regime, and you know, you've got states like Texas. You mentioned Miami as well. Austin is like a home. It's turned into a hub for crypto. A lot of people. So I've been using Twitter Spaces a lot, just going in and listening to. I found it like it's brilliant. If you're not on Twitter, I suggest, you know, get onto Twitter, follow some people who are using Twitter Spaces, because you hear things in real time. And then you see just exactly what's going on, how many people are based in Texas, what's going on in Austin and Miami, and it's crazy, very fragmented, lack of leadership. What can you say? I think the US is in disarray, frankly, and it's going to shoot itself amazingly in the foot if it doesn't sort its act out, because I definitely believe this is the next. It's a kind of extension of the internet. So what the internet has managed to produce for us in terms of productivity and value, crypto is the next wave of that. And I can't believe the US is kind of criminally holding itself back. But despite, luckily, the states seem to be ignoring a lot of what the federal government is doing, and it's becoming even more fractured. So there's hope for innovation still in the US.
That's a good one. And Hussein, you were mentioning about on Twitter about following certain people. So this is the opportunity for you to share your Twitter handle here, which is?
It's Hussein B. Let me 01. Let me just dig it up and I'll put it in the chat.
So meanwhile, I've got a slightly easier one because I sometimes tweet about stuff, and it's GPN01. Much similar. Okay, so
just a comment on what you guys have been talking. The thing is, there's quite a few things that it's not like in the UK, and other countries. So, for example, XRP, had huge problems, because it was deemed, when was it, 2012, 13, wasn't it? That the Office of Controller, said that they were creating a private currency. So they take control of what is a currency. You cannot create a private currency in the US. It's very simple, So the problem started a while back with XRP then, so they were fined big time at the time. But then things changed, and then SEC got involved and all the other stuff that you guys said. So I don't think the way they've structured who takes control of what is the problem. So the only way to fix that is with the law, and I think in Congress, I don't know if you guys saw this week, they just sneaky introduced a bit more legislation to to give powers to the Fed to create the Fed coin, So the digital dollar, that's already there, it was introduced. By doing that, I have no doubt whatsoever that they will make sure that XRP loses the case in court, because the US wants the digital dollar to go out there. You have a wallet, doesn't matter if it's PayPal or whatever. Hey, you see, you don't need crypto anymore. What are you talking about? Here it is, it's a digital dollar. You have it in a wallet, the same like the Chinese are doing. The Chinese are banning crypto for a while because their plan was always to come and create the digital yuan. But the Chinese are in advantage because they already have the kind of a distribution method in place, which is the QR codes in the whatever apps, and the US doesn't have that yet.
Well, certainly they got the integration with Wechat, which I think is a major selling point, definitely. Okay, so I was going to move on from that. So Hussein's shared his Twitter handle in the chat, so it's Hussein B. And Sam's thrown his in as well, which is Viking Poet 84. That's a little bit different. And I've lost the plot there. It was just that little bit different, which was timely because we've just got Derek joined us as well. Hey, Derek, say hi.
Hi, hello. How are you all?
We're good, thank you. We're just talking about all sorts of things. So far, we've covered off Cardano and ADA, and not much on Ethereum today, but Ripple, most things. Where does your interest lie, Derek?
My interest is in DeFi.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually running a project, a project called Polaris. It allows new crypto projects to attract liquidity to their token, and it's a platform where the projects can set up their own liquidity yield farms.
Okay, so how does that compare to something like the more familiar ones like Sushi Swap and that kind of thing?
Well, usually swap, you would have to apply to launch your own liquidity yield farm, whereas Polaris is completely decentralized and completely 100% trustless smart contracts.
Okay. So I guess the 100% decentralized saves me asking the question of where are you based?
London.
Okay.
I'm centralized in London.
Okay. I always find it funny when you speak to the people in the DeFi space and they're always very proud to say that they're in London. It's like, that's not quite decentralized. But yeah,
I'm not quite sure how we would decentralize ourselves, especially with difficulties flying around.
If you don't live in central London, then you are decentralized.
Hey, I'm living that dream then. That's good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, Derek. And another one to check out then.
It's the best place to disrupt global financial markets. You start in a decentralized, in a centralized hub like London.
Yeah, and then start saying decentralized word, and they don't quite know what it is, and they're trying to work out how to regulate it then, which is a bit of a lost cause. That's good. Do you have a website that people can check out with Polaris?
It's polarisdefi.io.
Okay. So what I'll do is, just as we're chatting, I'll pull that up.
Yeah, pull it up. But when you go into the app, unfortunately, the supernova lists are down. So,
okay.
We actually, I took control of it last week on Saturday, and we're just transitioning the IT across to our devs.
Okay.
So,
well, that's
so
a nice
one piece of the app is just having some transition problems.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be transitioned across this week.
At least that's a nice and clear tagline of welcome to the next generation of liquidity mining. That's good.
Yeah, look, it's something I'm really interested in. This whole issue of attracting liquidity to tokens, even the large, deeply traded tokens. But being a liquidity provider is dangerous because the more volatile the price, the easier it is to lose money being a liquidity provider, because you're offering the entire market on the bid and the offer.
Mm-hmm.
So if new information comes in, you get taken either on the bid or the offer, and it's the traders in the market that benefit. So liquidity providers need to be rewarded in a different way.
Okay, because I've seen a few examples of people exploiting that kind of arbitrage play using flash loans, to quite a devastating effect, in fact. So it'd be an interesting one there. Sam, you mentioned about in the chat about Sundayswap on Cardano. Is that a similar thing then?
Yes. Well, it's just it's something that will go onto the Cardano blockchain, and it's supposed to be quite bullish, and therefore it might be sensible to have a little sizable, not financial advice, of course.
Mm-hmm.
When Cardano very slowly gets its act together, there will be, I think, a nice little bounce eventually. But I think that the whole thing with Cardano is that, these smart contracts will come, and everyone expected a very quick adoption, but it's actually, oh no, it's going to be a lot slower, and we've got these scaling issues and blah, 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 blah. So Cardano, a lot of hype and little delivery. I'm a little bit disappointed, actually, I have to say.
So maybe something bringing Derek back in on this, really, in terms of the platform you're running. Is that running on a particular blockchain layer?
Yeah, so we've deployed the smart contracts to the BSC network, and also to Polygon, and that's we haven't announced, or the community hasn't agreed any IT roadmap yet. it's on our list of things to do, but we may launch on Ethereum once Ethereum 2.0 is in place. But there are other blockchains to cover as well. But the more blockchains you cover, the more support and maintenance resource you need.
Because I don't know, has anyone heard about the latest development with Ethereum? Because they did was it the London upgrade, which was EIP 1599 and a few other things. So that changed the fees that the miners got for the block transactions, which again, that was meant to be this is going to have a significant effect because it results in Ethereum being burned and that reduces supply. So that will result in price going up, blah, 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 blah. And if you take a look at the chart for Ethereum, the market didn't seem to notice it. I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts on where, that.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ethereum did go up a lot, but that was more correlated with the Bitcoin move. So I think you're right. I think this burning 50% of the Ether transaction fees is massively material.
Yep.
But didn't seem to get reflected in the price relative to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I've just pulled up the Ethereum price. I'm trying to remember when the upgrade was. I think it was round about this kind of mid-late August or earlier August or whatever. But again, it's another of these charts when you look at it and you go, well, when did a particular fork happen or when did an upgrade happen? You can't really spot anything that sticks out and says, that shows it made a massive difference. So, interesting. So, we're whizzing through at the moment all sorts of things. Is there anything that anyone has, any news or anything of interest to share?
Lightning networks. Sorry, I'll let you go, Rachel. Go on.
I just have a kind of newbie question, really. I'm a bit confused about forks, because you mentioned forks. So if I've got stuff on Coinbase, how do I know if it's going to be a fork where I get my coin is a different, turns into something else and it automatically happens? Or how do I know whether it's going to be a fork where I have to buy a new thing? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So my recollection, and people can correct me on this if I have this wrong. First of all, quick, really newbie thing about the difference between a soft fork and a hard fork. I describe it as a soft fork is, if you look at football, and funnily enough, one of the guys who's going to come on later from the States was talking about soccer earlier on. If you change the rule in football for the offside rule, so it's a rule change, everyone agrees to it, has no impact on the scores or anything like that. So you all apply that new rule, that's a soft fork. And the scores of, Liverpool beating Arsenal 3-2 last week applied through history and everything. So a soft fork is a protocol upgrade that everyone's agreed to, that everyone's applied, that has no kind of major impact really. Whereas a hard
this
fork,
Ethereum one, was that this Ethereum one was like that?
So the latest Ethereum one was effectively a soft fork because it's backward compatible. A hard fork is like that kid on a playing field in London a couple of 100 years ago who was playing football and then picked the ball up and created a whole set of new rules called Rugby, which was now using different rules to the original one. So you've now got rugby and football. They're not interoperable. They both exist, but they're not backward compatible with each other. So a hard fork is where you've made a change and some people have decided to go down the rugby route, some people have decided to go down the football route, and you've now got the two operating in parallel, but they are different. That's kind of the analogy that I tend to use.
Currency, like currency X, and it does a hard fork. What will I be left with, the original one or the new one?
So this is, it's not quite me being a consultant, but the answer is always it depends. If it's a soft fork, then you start with currency X, they do a software upgrade, and you've still got currency X, there's no change. If it's a hard fork and there's a split, you've now got currency X and currency Y. So this is where you've got, as someone just mentioned, got Ethereum ETH, and you've got Ethereum Classic ETC, which was as a result of the DAO changes in 2018, I think it was, where that took two routes. So you've now got ETC and ETH. Now, same has happened with Bitcoin many times, in fact. So this is why you've got, you got Bitcoin Cash, you got Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, you got Bitcoin Classic, all these kind of things. What will happen to your crypto if you are holding it on an exchange will depend upon the policy of the exchange. So normally, if an exchange believes that it's going to be a hard fork, they'll normally write something to everybody to say, with your upcoming hard fork, what we will do is, and they'll normally tell you what to do. So I've seen that happen a couple of times in the past, where if you're holding it on an exchange, the exchange will just say, well, actually, we're just going to commit to this new version, and so we're not even going to keep your stuff in the old one. Or you get this nice pleasant surprise where you're holding one coin and magically you've got a whole load of other coins that you didn't know where they came from. But a bit like BTC for Bitcoin and BCH, Bitcoin Cash, you look at Bitcoin's price, it's about $43,000 at the moment, whereas BCH is somewhat less. Yeah, so kind of thing. So yeah, usually the exchange, if it's going to be a hard fork, will tell you. And I don't know, for everyone else, the experts out there, was that a reasonable explanation? I'm not seeing anyone go, no, it's not there. And I've seen some dreadful explanations of forks and that before now.
I love the rugby analogy. That
it works, doesn't it? Yeah, it kind of works on that. That's the one I've used in my training for years, and everyone gets it. You know, and it kind of works, and it shows, you know, rugby and football are not backward compatible. They now operate in parallel and all that kind of thing. So it kind of works on that. So thank you, that boy at rugby school who picked the ball one day for my analogy. So
I understood it anyway, so it makes sense. It's just like I used to get nervous thinking that suddenly my currency was going to either change or disappear or become worthless because of forks, you know. Yep. So that's put my mind at rest.
Yeah, and it's the occasional one I've had it in the past as well, where something is forked, like a minor altcoin, and I haven't even been aware of it, and then I log back into my wallet and it's like, oh, what are these? It's like, oh, got some nice new coins. What are they worth? You know, 0.00001 or so. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. So
yeah, thank you.
No problem. Anyone got anything else?
I have something actually, you know, I don't know if you guys read this week, but Wabi is going to stop all Chinese users until December. Yeah, and this brought down Wabi token quite a bit. You know, it was really a sudden dump. And what's concerning is that like 95 of the projects that they've onboarded and tokens they've onboarded are usually supported by Chinese investors, you know, and traders and so on. So I would urge everyone who to look at the projects, if you have any tokens from any projects and so on, because they might get affected. Might, I don't know, okay, but it is a big thing because Wabi is, I think, the third largest, still the third largest exchange out there, you know. So,
okay, it's an exchange. Because I was going to say, I've heard of Wasabi, but I haven't heard of Wabi.
Wabi.
Okay, so that's
the third largest exchange. So they have lots and lots of good projects, you know, that they've onboarded.
Yeah, who Obi?
Wabi, yeah.
I'm sure you know it because it's spelled HUOBI.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, just the way you saying
it's
it.
Just the way I say
it.
It's
hearing the correct pronunciation, but I didn't realize.
It's Chinese name being spoken with a Portuguese accent.
Probably.
Okay, right. Now I know who you're talking about. That's good. Okay, that's an interesting one. Right, thanks for that, Fernando. Anyone else got any stuff that's coming along, or any questions or anything?
Just wanted to hear you guys' comments on the use of tipping on Twitter and Lightning networks, because that was big news for us at NOAA. And I've been playing around with Lightning networks, you know, having come from the payments industry. I'll be honest with you, I think it's a lot of work in progress, but it's still quite impressive what they've managed to achieve. And I'm playing around with like as many Lightning wallets as I can at the moment, just to get my head around how it all works. And we're looking at setting up some Lightning infrastructure as well. Just wanted to know if you guys had any thoughts, if you played around with Lightning, or if you use Twitter, and what are your thoughts on this tipping thing?
Well, it's a massive innovation, that's for sure. Now, if Jack Dorsey's behind it, you can sure ride the wave there. I mean, I know Dorsey's a massive Bitcoin maxi, but he's also becoming a bit friendly. It's, I don't know, just that adoption on Twitter. It's like a domino, isn't it? So in history, I'm often teaching about domino theory, and like the Eastern Bloc and falling down the other way, etc. But I just think the adoption of that on Twitter is actually much bigger, much more bullish, and the market's certainly recognised. So I think that in the long run, it's very good, and we're going to see good things coming from it. What we just need is celebrities kind of getting behind it and starting to use it, I think.
I think that might be it, and I think Sam's kind of nailed it. It's another of these ones where simply by announcing that they are doing it, that wakes some people up. And usually it doesn't wake enough people up for it to start. But then people beginning to actually use it is really interesting. But it's a little bit like I keep posting on LinkedIn about further adoption and further onboarding, gradually making progress. So the fact that PayPal are extending use of crypto, the fact that there are other companies beginning to integrate it now. So I think it's a fantastic idea, even if it were to be, and I'm sure it won't be, just vaporware. Just the very announcement means it gets it out there and people's visibility in that. And then I think the next wave is as people start trying it, and if it hangs together and it works okay, that's really good. Now, extending on that, the Lightning Network side of things, that's where it's kind of an interesting one, because in a way, Lightning is an acknowledgement that Bitcoin doesn't work as a value transfer mechanism, which is what Bitcoin Cash would argue as well. You look at the people behind that, they say Bitcoin, the way it is now, is just not a value transfer platform.
It's not a currency.
Yeah.
It cannot be used as a currency. You can use it as a money, yeah. It's a form of money, valuable asset, whatever you want to call it, but not currency. So I agree with you. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. But yeah, I think one of the problems as well is that Lightning Network may well be a compromise approach that the Bitcoin maximalists won't like, because it actually means that you're doing everything off chain, which almost
and the
defeats the
security
object.
problems could get a lot of security. I don't like second layers at all. They're not decentralized. It's basically centralizing everything. So,
but Hussein, you're going to come back on that?
Yeah, oddly enough, I think the Bitcoin maxis that I've been listening to on Twitter, who tend to be the most toxic, actually quite adore this as a technology. So that it's been well received by arguably the most difficult sector of adopters. But I've been last few weeks, I've done a deep dive into this, and there's a lot of problems with it, but also quite recently some novel solutions as well. So goes back to, I think, what Fernando was saying earlier, when you mobilize enough people and you have enough money, you can tend to get stuff fixed quickly. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen a bit.
So yeah, absolutely, I agree. So Twitter, I mean, there's a lot of hype, yeah, news, but there's nothing new, if you think really about it. So, but it's just because it's on Twitter, and Jack finally kind of told Elon, yeah, the ball is in your court, when you ask me when we're going to use it, we are using it, yeah. So it's kind of, he had to prove a point, but I agree with everyone, it just takes it to a different level of adoption, and that's really good, But I really think that what's going to take crypto to a totally different level is not going to be Twitter or WhatsApp, I really, because like you mentioned PayPal, there's all of these payment providers, they saw it, and people are getting, I mean, a lot of people got on PayPal basically, in the US. And WhatsApp, you can use it, I think, already, not crypto, but you can do, or they were preparing to do it in Brazil and in India, as far as I remember. I don't know how far they went on that. I think the next big thing is what Mark Zuckerberg has been looking at the moment, you know, which is what I've been saying for a while. It's all of the gaming side, you know, virtual worlds, metaverse, you know, all of the payment in gaming, that is going to take crypto to a totally different level, you know.
It's going to be interesting as well, because the gaming economy, when you start looking at the transactions that go on through, whether it be Fortnite, Roblox, or any of the major providers, and you look at the wider metaverse, it's a hidden economy, because there's a lot of money goes into that and gets transacted, but because no one thinks of it as money, the regulators up till now haven't taken an interest.
Well,
My friend has all his pocket money in V-Bucks. He doesn't want cash. He doesn't want cash anymore. It's all V-Bucks.
Yeah, I thought the same. Robux, like, do you know how much money that game has made? It's not. It's like the computers with seven. It's not buying the game now. It's the continual purchases. It's so much of a better model for profit. They are killing it hand over fist. Now, if you imagine you turn that into cryptocurrency, so not only are they getting an asset, but an asset which appreciates over time. Oh, right there.
Well,
absolutely. I can tell you one thing. Yeah, I at the moment have a partnership with one. I think is going to be the next big play to earn game. You know, across the ages, and they understand the industry very well. I've been talking with other people that are involved, even with some really, how should I say, influential people in gaming. The studios, they are all doing partnerships at the moment, and you'll start to see crypto on games, play to earn everywhere, you know?
Yeah. Well, you got Axie, other major ones in that kind of space, aren't they? But the other area is, this is where I think this is going to be the next major evolution of NFT adoption.
Axie Infinity, yeah?
Yeah, Axie Infinity. This is where I think NFTs have the potential. And I'm working on a project with a US company at the moment around using NFTs as a way of providing interoperability of tokens between platforms. So if you've got like an avatar or an inventory on Fortnite and you want to transfer it to a Roblox platform type thing, there's the potential that you could move it across. Now, when you extend that a little bit further, and you know, several viewers saying that, oh, we pay our kids in Robux or whatever, well, that could then mean that you could use Robux as a payment system, just like PayPal. And you know, you and I could transact in Robux and we get paid, and it works like that. And again, it's another area completely outside the existing financial regulations. So, another one for Bank of England to start having kittens over at some point. Folks, I'm conscious we've only got 2 minutes left, because I always like to try and close these sessions off on time. Is there anything in particular anyone like to share or add, or any comments or thoughts or anything?
I'm interested to know when the crypto and blockchain conferences, the face-to-face ones, are going to start up again.
This Wednesday. So in London, there is the Crypto AM Blockchain Summit, which is on Wednesday on Fenchurch Street, and then Thursday at St. Paul's. That's a 2-day event being run by James Bowater and Crypto AM. I'm a huge supporter of everything they've been doing. He's really been beating the drum brilliantly. That's really good. So there you go, there's a live one. I know there was a Cardano Summit, which was that Saturday, Friday and Saturday at the QE2 Centre. So I think it's beginning. But I have to admit, I've got a real reluctance. I've got no desire to physically go to any conferences yet. And I'm only making an exception for the one on Wednesday and Thursday, because there's a load of awards and I've been nominated for an education award, so I'm going to show up. You know, if only to support everyone else, which I try to do in the community.
I'll look out for you there.
So
congratulations.
Well, it's only a nomination.
In Dubai, for example, all October, there's about 12 conferences because it starts the Dubai Expo 2020. So all the big conference organizers, they set up a lot of their conferences there throughout the entire October and first week of November. Yeah, and also there is on the Web Summit around that time in November. I think it's mid of November. I can't remember there's the Solana first conference, and that's going to be big. And we speak a lot of people. They all want to go to Portugal for the Web Summit and for the Solana conference. Yeah, so that's quite interesting, you know.
So hopefully, Derek, that answers the question. That it's kicking off now. It's definitely going there, folks. It's 8 o'clock, so I'm going to close this off now. I'm going to thank everyone for coming along as always. Thanks for the contributions. For anyone who's watching on YouTube, hope you enjoyed this as well. I'll do the YouTube bit of don't forget to subscribe, click on that like button, make comments, and come along to a future meeting. But yeah, don't forget, folks, we do this every Sunday evening. Everyone's always welcome, novice, expert alike. Justin, you've been pretty quiet, but I hope that was of some interest to you as well.
Yeah, I was listening intently. The only thing I was going to say was I noticed that if you've got Norton Security, there's a Ethereum crypto miner in there now. So when your PC is idling, not that it's probably going to earn you much.
Excellent. That's a good one to watch out for. So, right, folks, thank you very much. Have a great day. I always say at the end, look after yourself, go wash your hands, and have a great weekend. Cheers now.
Right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.